The story begins with a man named Kenichi, who leads a peaceful and quiet life on his farm. One day, as he relaxes and watches an isekai anime, he sees the protagonist of the show open a status window. As he enjoys himself, he is abruptly transported to another world without warning. Now finding himself deep in the woods, he notices a girl watching him, but before he can react, she suddenly vanishes. Looking around in confusion, he spots an armored skeleton, and at that moment he realizes that he has indeed been sent to another world. He decides to copy what the protagonist in his favorite anime did, triggering a window to appear, confirming that his life is about to take a drastic turn. Curious, he tries to check his stats but is unable to find them. Instead, he discovers that he has access to the Shamba shopping site, which allows him to buy anything he needs. Along with that, he also finds an item box, realizing that he can store objects inside. To test its functionality, he picks up some weeds and places them into the item box. Experimenting further, he uses the trash command to remove the dirt from the weeds. However, he soon feels hunger creeping in and attempts to buy food, but the system informs him that he lacks the money to do so. Frustrated, he tries selling the weeds he just collected, only to be told that they are worthless. Feeling momentarily doomed, he soon gets an idea. He can sell the skeleton's equipment to earn money. Without hesitation, he proceeds with the plan, gaining enough funds to purchase food. Before leaving, he decides to give the skeleton a proper burial and expresses his gratitude for unknowingly helping him survive. Now with some resources at his disposal, Kenichi purchases a bicycle to aid his travels. However, he quickly realizes that his funds are limited, only allowing him to survive for a few days. As he ponders his next move, he thinks about finding a stable place where he can use his abilities to start a business. As he enjoys his meal, he is startled when a pack of wolves suddenly appears. Panicking, he searches for something he can use to defend himself. His first attempt involves using fireworks to scare them away, but to his dismay, it fails. Desperate, he quickly buys a slingshot and loads it with steel balls, firing at the wolves. He successfully takes down one of them, causing the rest of the pack to flee. Not wanting to linger, he rushes to leave the area before more danger appears. The following day, Kenichi reaches the forest's edge and looks around, spotting a city in the distance. He makes his way toward the main road, but as he does, a carriage nearly runs him over. The driver quickly stops and checks if he is unharmed. To Kenichi's surprise, the driver speaks Japanese. Introducing himself as a merchant named Fuyo, the man invites Kenichi to ride with him to the city of Dahlia. During their journey, Kenichi learns that they will be traveling with a bard. As they talk, Kenichi reveals his plan to start a business in Dahlia. However, Fuyo questions why he did not bring any goods with him and asks if he possesses an item box. At that moment, the bard suddenly pulls out a guitar, prompting Fuyo to comment that it is rare to see someone actively using an item box in such a way. Upon arriving in Dahlia, Kenichi assists Fuyo in unloading his goods. As a token of appreciation, he offers Fuyo some pepper. However, Fuyo warns him that a syndicate called the Bopa has a monopoly on the spice trade and will target anyone who tries to sell it. Despite this, Fuyo insists on paying Kenichi, refusing to take anything for free. Kenichi is shocked when he realizes that the amount he received is equivalent to over 100,000 yen, making him understand that pepper is considered a luxury in this world. He proceeds to a nearby tavern where he meets a girl named Elia and asks about lodging. She tells him that they have rooms available, but requests that he write his name on a piece of paper. When he struggles to do so, she quickly figures out that he does not know how to write in their language. He explains that he has come to start a business, but she informs him that he must be literate to register with the Merchant Guild. Additionally, she explains that he needs to have basic numerical skills. To test him, she presents a simple math problem. Kenichi successfully solves it, proving that he at least understands numbers. Elia then writes his name for him, and in return, he asks her to teach him their language. As an incentive, he offers her candy as a reward. She takes a bite and is delighted by the taste, commenting that the sweet treat makes her feel like nobility, as there are no such luxuries available in the kingdom. She teaches him how to read and write, and he notes that their written language is easy to learn since it resembles Japanese. She believes he'd do well as a merchant and starts flirting with him, but he dismisses her, stating that he's old enough to be her father. He sketches her like one of his French girls, and she's captivated by his drawing, which leads to her staying the night. The next day, Kenichi heads to the Merchants Guild, where the receptionist hands him an application form. He quickly realizes that everything in this world is handwritten. She informs him that the registration fee is 1 silver, but he calculates that it's equivalent to 50,000 yen, which he barely has. He requests to pay in installments, and she hands him his guild ID, instructing him to display it while conducting business. He walks around the market, examining the goods, and determines that 1 copper equals 1,000 yen, while a square silver is worth 5,000. He spots a girl selling fruits and buys 10 for 1 copper, though he has no clue what kind of fruit they are. Placing them in his item box reveals their names. Back in his room, Kenichi notes that he's off to a promising start, but exhaustion takes over and he suddenly dozes off. The following day, he upgrades his bed and organizes his clothes when Alia notices his clothespins, admiring how much better they are compared to the ones in the kingdom. This makes him realize he could profit by selling them. He heads to the market, where he meets a merchant named Anima and sets up a stall beside her. She notices his item box and, intrigued by his clothespins, purchases 5 for 1 copper. After some time, Anama points out that Kenichi's clothespins are selling well, and he calculates a profit of 15,000 yen. However, he starts worrying that rival merchants might imitate his product. Just then, a noble takes interest in his knife, recognizing its exceptional sharpness. Kenichi tells him it costs 2 silver, but the man asks if he has anything larger. Checking his online shop, Kenichi presents a hunting sword. The noble admires it, but when Kenichi states that it's priced at 1 gold, he hesitates, thinking it's too expensive. Kenichi considers lowering the price when suddenly a cat girl named Mai starts sniffing him. Her companions stop her, but Kenichi panics, realizing they resemble beasts. Anima notices his confusion and explains that he's unfamiliar with beast folk. One of the beast folk grabs the mat covering Kenichi's stall and expresses interest in buying it. Kenichi, knowing he can easily restock using his item box, sells it for 3 copper. The beast folk decides to buy 3 mats, so Kenichi offers a discount 8 copper instead of 9. However, the beast folk admits he doesn't have 8 copper, so Mai offers square silver. Kenichi explains that he'll take 2 square silver and return 2 copper as change, but they appear confused. The noble confirms Kenichi's calculation, and they accept the deal before walking away. Anima explains that beast folk are notoriously bad at math, and the noble, realizing Kenichi is trustworthy, ultimately decides to purchase the sword. Kenichi returns to the tavern, paying 3 square silver for lodging. Alia notices his success and is impressed that he was able to make money. Meanwhile, a merchant named Margaret presents Kenichi's clothespins to her boss, Primula. Intrigued, Primula considers selling them through her company. She recalls that their business motto is to never let an opportunity slip by, and quickly rushes off to find her father, eager to capitalize on the idea. Kenichi takes a bath and browses the online shop, where he finds a drum. He contemplates using it to enjoy a warm bath, but begins reflecting on his item box, realizing he doesn't fully understand how it functions. This makes him question why he was transported to this world in the first place. Deep in the woods, a girl named Anemone sits alone, eating whatever food she can find, hoping that today she can finally eat her fill. The day passes, but when she hears people searching for her, she quickly runs away. The next day, Kenichi begins selling jewelry, and Anama grows curious about his supplier. However, he tells her it's a trade secret. Margaret visits his store and purchases 100 clothespins, mentioning that she has the money for them. She notices the jewelry he's selling and assumes they're diamonds, but he reveals they're just polished glass. He offers to sell them for 6 square silver, and since the price is low, she asks him to set one aside for her. Later that day, Mi arrives with the beast folk, immediately sniffing him and telling everyone that he has spices. The beast folk eagerly beg him to sell to them, but Anama warns them to stop making unreasonable demands, as Boppa might find out and cause trouble. However, they insist he must do something, and as Kenichi notices everyone watching, they mention that spices are essential to the beast folk's diet. He declines to sell, but instead invites them to eat outside town, saying he will cook for them. They celebrate, and Anama decides to join. That evening, Kenichi prepares to cook and asks Anama to help cut the vegetables. She finds them unusual, and he explains they are from a foreign place. He uses curry powder for flavor, and once the meal is ready, the beast folk are amazed. Anama compares them to nobles eating with silver spoons, but it's revealed that the utensils are just stainless steel. The beast folk want a drink, so Kenichi brings liquor from his shop, and they all enjoy it together. Anama comments on his kindness, but he tells her it's okay to forget about reality for a while. As the beast folk begin bathing, he hands them soap to help them clean up. Afterward, everyone falls asleep, but Mi suddenly joins Kenichi. The next morning, Alia questions Kenichi about why he didn't sleep in his room. He explains that he spent the night with the beast folk. She wonders if he prefers Miri over her and notices fur on him, which causes her to start ignoring him. Kenichi opens his shop, unsure if Alia hates him, but he convinces himself that he can still live a good life without her. Margaret arrives with Prim, whose beauty stuns him. He asks Margaret if she will buy the item he set aside, and she pays for it before showing it to Primula. Primula is shocked that it's only glass. She admires his jewelry and asks to see more, so he displays his pendants. Realizing he owns an item box, she expresses interest in speaking with him, revealing that she is from the Mao Trading Company. She wants him to meet her father, the company's owner. Anna Ma notes that their company is a major trader in Dahlia with a strong reputation, so Kenichi agrees to meet them. He joins Primula, mentioning that it's his first time riding in a noble's carriage, but she clarifies that she isn't a noble. She explains that she previously tried hiring a craftsman to replicate his work, but he failed, stating it required advanced technology. They arrive at her mansion, where her father, Malo, thanks Kenichi for coming and examines his products. Primula points out that Kenichi possesses an item box, and Malo reveals that he also has one, crediting it for the success of his company. He proposes that Kenichi become their supplier, explaining that they want to sell his products. Kenichi wonders why they didn't just resell his items, and Sol clarifies that they didn't want to offend him. He adds that rival companies might attempt to sign an exclusivity contract with Kenichi. Malo offers him 50% of the sales, and Kenichi immediately accepts, signing a contract with the company. He delivers his first batch of products, and Primula takes a liking to one of the items, purchasing it for 10 gold. Kenichi calculates that 1 gold equals 200,000 yen, meaning he has just earned 2 million yen. After some time, Kenichi's balance on Shanga reaches 8 digits, and he figures it's time to start working toward his goal. So he heads back to the forest, where he intends to build a farm in order to resume living his slow-paced life. He recalls that Elia warned him about the dangers lurking in the forest, but he assures her that he'll be fine since he plans to stay close to the city walls. He starts by using a grass cutter to remove the plants, successfully clearing a path. However, he notes that he still has to cut down the trees. Bringing out his chainsaw, he begins cutting them down. But when he encounters an enormous tree, he quickly realizes he can't slice through it easily. Instead, he resorts to using a sledgehammer and a wedge, and eventually the tree crashes to the ground. Attempting to store the logs in his item box, he finds out that they're too large to fit. To solve this, he decides to cut them into smaller pieces, making it possible to store them. As he works, he takes note that his item box has a storage limit of 10 meters. Seeing that it's getting late, he calls it a day and decides to continue later. The following day, he struggles to uproot the trees, realizing that it will take far too long to complete the process manually. To speed things up, he purchases a second-hand excavator, but he immediately regrets it since the price was over 1 million yen. When he attempts to use the excavator, he realizes it runs on diesel, which he can't buy from stores. Thinking of an alternative, he considers using kerosene. Spotting lamp oil that contains kerosene, he initially hesitates at the high cost but acknowledges that it's his only option. He decides to purchase it, though he's uncertain whether it will work. To test it, he first pours it into a diesel generator. Once it starts running, he confirms that kerosene can indeed serve as fuel for his excavator. After taking a bath, he finds himself wondering how to deal with the biting insects. He recalls Alia telling him about a bug-repellent magic stone, so he heads into the city to look for one. At a shop, he meets an elderly vendor who offers to sell it for 3 silver coins. Kenichi finds the price too high, so he offers 2 foreign oranges as payment instead. The old man accepts his trade. Later, Kenichi notices a wanted poster near his stall and recognizes a bandit leader named Shaga. Meanwhile, we see that Anime was sold to a slave trader and placed in a carriage with other slaves, only for them to be ambushed by Shaga's group. As Kenichi continues uprooting trees using his excavator, he soon realizes that his funds are running low. In an attempt to earn money, he approaches Malo, hoping to sell sugar. However, Malo informs him that the nation has exclusive rights to sugar and salt, so he is unable to purchase them. On the bright side, he mentions that nobles are fond of Kenichi's jewelry. Seizing the opportunity, Kenichi shows them more pieces, successfully making 3 million yen in profit. Returning to the forest, he purchases a log cabin for over 1 million yen, only to realize that he has to assemble it himself. He carefully reads the manual and learns that he must fit the planks together before construction can begin. While working on his cabin, a group of beast folk hunting nearby spot him. Remembering his kindness when he gave them a meal, they decide to assist him. After several weeks, the cabin is finally complete, and Kenichi takes a well-earned rest on his bed. However, he understands that he still has a long way to go before settling down fully. Over the course of the next month, he focuses on purchasing everything he needs. At last, he enjoys a warm bath, recalling how he had to fetch water from the river before. Experiencing his first proper warm bath in this world, he feels incredibly relaxed, believing his slow life in the woods has truly begun. The next day, Kenichi shares news of his new home with Alia, expressing his gratitude for her support. He then returns to his cabin and uses his bike to explore the forest, taking pictures of the blooming flowers. Kenichi suddenly launches an attack, forcing his enemies to scramble for cover. As he surveys the situation, he spots several beast folk attempting to take his life. Acting quickly, he grabs a handful of firecrackers and ignites them, using the noise and flashing light to distract his pursuers. With a perfect opening, he charges forward in his excavator. The machine roars to life, its massive frame casting an intimidating shadow over the attackers. Seeing the towering piece of machinery moving toward them, the beast folk panic, their courage failing as they flee in all directions. Kenichi watches them retreat, confusion settling in. He wonders why they tried to kill him in the first place. His eyes scan the ground, and that's when he notices something unusual. A bobcat lying motionless, its breathing shallow and its fur matted with blood. Realizing it's injured, he kneels beside it and carefully treats its wound. Despite his efforts, a new concern arises. Will the creature survive? He attempts to store it in his item box, but to his frustration, it doesn't work. Resigned, he loads the injured bobcat onto a handcart and starts the long journey home. The entire time, the bobcat remains unmoving, making him question if this world has healing magic. Determined to find answers, Kenichi heads to the magic shop in town. When he asks an old man about healing spells for animals, the response is disappointing. The man admits he has no knowledge of such magic. Kenichi leaves, disheartened. Meanwhile, Mai catches his scent again and follows it to his home. She reveals something surprising. Among the beast folk, bobcats are considered sacred beings, messengers of the gods. She insists on seeing the one he rescued and, after inspecting its wounds, concludes that dogmen were likely responsible for the attack. Kenichi watches as she strokes the creature's fur with reverence. He reapplies ointment to the wound, but the bobcat begins licking it off. Annoyed, he improvises a solution, crafting a protective cone to prevent it from interfering with the treatment. Mai, observing his care, recognizes his kindness. She smiles and declares that she wants to thank him for saving such an important animal. As a token of gratitude, she goes out and hunts birds from the area. Kenichi, taking charge of the cooking, seasons the meat with pepper and grills it over an open flame. The rich aroma fills the air, and when Mai takes a bite, her eyes widen with delight. "This is amazing," she exclaims. Enjoying the meal, she decides to stay the night out of concern for the bobcat. Kenichi mentions that he has only one bed, but she shrugs off the issue, suggesting they simply share it. Days pass, and the bobcat shows signs of recovery. Encouraged, Kenichi shifts his focus to a new project, starting a farm. However, a major problem arises. Fetching water from the river daily is inconvenient. He begins considering a solution, digging a well. One morning, he awakens to find the bobcat standing on his chest. Realizing the creature has fully healed, he removes its collar. The bobcat, in turn, points toward the door. Understanding its request, he opens it, watching as it steps outside. Without hesitation, it sprints into the distance. Kenichi smiles, wishing it well on its journey. For an entire week, Kenichi focuses solely on constructing his well. Just as he completes it, an unexpected visitor arrives, Primula. She expresses concern, noting that he has stopped setting up his shop. She explains that Mi told her about his house, which led her to visit. Noticing his excavator, she questions him about it. Kenichi, reluctant to reveal the truth, claims that it's his familiar and asks her to keep it a secret. As night falls, Kenichi realizes that the city gates are likely closed. He asks Primula if she plans to stay the night. With only one bed available, he hesitates, but she reassures him that she's used to sleeping alongside others when traveling for business. Her attention shifts to his bath. Excited by its appearance, she eagerly tries it out. As she soaks in the warm water, Kenichi senses her discomfort. Assuming she's embarrassed, he prepares to leave, but she unexpectedly asks him to stay. Realizing she might be afraid, he offers to let her use the bath another time. However, Primula dismisses the idea, quoting her company's motto, "Never waste an opportunity because it may never come again." Kenichi, surprised by her boldness, asks what she would do if he turned out to be a bad person. Without hesitation, she states that she knows he's good. After all, he fed the beast folk and saved the bobcat's life. Afterward, Kenichi hands her a bathrobe, and she is immediately impressed by its softness and comfort. She asks if he would consider selling them, but he explains that he can only produce a limited number. When she tries on a nightgown, she admires its design and suggests that he could become the kingdom's top merchant. However, Kenichi is uninterested in attracting noble attention, fearing the complications it may bring. Respecting his wishes, Primula promises to keep his connection to the Mao Trading Company a secret. Kenichi then sketches a portrait of her, offering it as a gift. Primula is delighted, marveling at his skill. Later that night, as they lie in separate beds, she attempts to start a conversation, but Kenichi ignores her entirely. Meanwhile, in another part of the city, Shaga's group gathers. Neiman pours him a drink, but a bandit suddenly knocks her down. Shaga receives a bag of coins and a letter, realizing they have been assigned a new job. Back with Kenichi, he heads toward Mao's mansion, nervous about how he will be received. He assumes he's in trouble for letting Primula spend the night at his house. To his surprise, Mao merely thanks him for taking care of her. Kenichi can't believe how casually the situation is handled. M inspects the bathrobe and acknowledges its high quality. However, when Kenichi introduces a piece of lingerie, suggesting that Lon could use it to attract men, M is unimpressed and rejects the idea. Margaret then enters the room carrying ledgers. Mao explains that he will be revising their financial records since the empire has recently implemented a new accounting system. Double-entry bookkeeping. He then presents their latest product, and Kenichi immediately recognizes it. As a pitcher pump, Mao reveals that it was also invented in the empire, leading Kenichi to suspect that someone else from his world has been sent there. The people find the pump impressive, so Kenichi shares his design for a vehicle called the Drain. However, they simply laugh at it, thinking it looks absurd. That evening, Primula takes a bath at Kenichi's house and mentions she'll be leaving for a business trip the next day, meaning they won't see each other for a month. She tells him she wants to buy lingerie, making him realize she's trying to attract someone. However, she confesses her feelings for him. Kenichi insists she shouldn't fall for him, as he's too old for her, but she says he's a great person and her father wouldn't mind if they ended up together. He avoids the topic, but she asks to sleep beside him, so they share the bed as he wonders why she likes him. The next day, Primula departs for town, and a noble named Norse Spallan Knight visits Kenichi. He acknowledges that Kenichi has started living in the forest, but inquires about the solar panels. Kenichi claims they are magical artifacts and pleads with him to keep them a secret. In exchange, Nor gives him 3 steel ingots, advising him to take them to a blacksmith to forge a new weapon. Norpa then promises to stay silent about the solar panels. He also tells Kenichi about a mage with unusual spells appearing in the Empire. This mage allegedly defeated a dragon using mayonnaise, a story Kenichi finds ridiculous, until he realizes the mage might be another person from his world. But that's where this video ends. Let me know in the comments if you'd like to see more of this series. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.